How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Which version? Pretty much both of them I'm going to talk about because I like to do a compare and contrast between the two. Uh, this is very much like the classic Dr. Seuss story that we all know, and very much, I would say it's kind of like put into the pop culture more with the Chuck Jones animated one. And yeah, there's the Chuck Jones animated version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas is pretty much the classic that everyone knows about. They know the song, they know the premise of the story. Basic, even if someone hasn't seen the movie, they know how it's gonna go down. But because it's like so well known, uh, and I think that this was very much my first time seeing the Grinch. I think for a lot of people it is. It's another movie that gets played during Christmas time, with good reason. The premise, if you don't know already, is that the Grinch really hates Christmas, and he decides to steal all of the. He pretty much decides to steal Christmas from the Who's of Whoville that are below him, and he so to do this he disguises himself as Santa Claus, and he uses his dog as a reindeer, and from there you pretty much have him stealing all of Christmas in a literal sense. Like, he takes all the wreaths from each house, he steals all the trees, takes all the ornaments, takes all the stockings. He pretty much goes mad with stealing Christmas. Like, he even steals the presents, or even the tiniest leaf that is on like a branch. And for, you know what, that is a really entertaining aspect of the movie. I think that's part of that's some of the stuff I really love in that movie. And it's just like all the intricacies that he goes through just so he can like wipe away Christmas from like all the Whovilles, and from all the Who's in Whoville. Actually, that the Whoville is just a town, not the, yeah, whatever. The and he eventually learns that the true spirit of Christmas is not in the like all the decorations, all the presents, and all that stuff. He learns that it's much more. Essentially, that's how it all pans out. That's it's really a good animated film, and really good despite like it's very short, but it also manages to fill up that time slot really well. Uh, the animation quality is really good. It's very colorful to look at. I think this would look great on Blu-ray or like on something 4K. I think this would look phenomenal. Like if they just keep updating it. You also have Boris Karloff, aka Frankenstein, from the 1931 film, the iconic one. Boris Karloff does the voice of the Grinch and the narrator, and he delivers some deliciously like evil, sort of like the evil scheming talk with him, and the Grinch is just like he's so fun to watch in that respect. The you also have Your Mean One, Mr. Grinch. You have that song also, which is sung by. He was sung by the guy who did the Haunted Mansion song in Disneyland. Like that you'll get a sense of when you compare and contrast the two. It's pretty much the same voice. Well, actually, it's just when you compare, it's the same voice as that guy. So you'll instantly get it. Yeah. So then you have the Grinch, with Jim Carrey in it, and this is kind of an interesting one. This is a movie I actually saw in theaters when it first came out, I believe. And is the Grinch like as good as the original? In overall, I probably would say no. Like, I mean, for me, feature length and shorts are kind of different. Like, they have varying degrees of quality or differences in how each one works. But the Grinch with Jim Carrey on its own, I actually think is it's actually not that bad of a movie, I'd say. Like, it's not, I don't think it's a great movie, but it still has some great moments in that movie. First off, Jim Carrey as the Grinch actually is really great in that film. He really like he is much more over the top in performances when you compare him to Boris Karloff, and you know what? That's actually okay. It's kind of a interesting difference, but they the one of the big positives of the movie is that like the production design in that movie is fantastic. Like it feels like an alternate world, and it's almost like the first time you ever see Whoville in a live action format, and everyone looks very odd looking. They all have weird shaped buildings that very look cartoony, and you know what? I'm okay with that. It almost feels like how it's supposed to be. There's some downsides of the movie, however. There's some humor in the movie that might be a little too pop culture referencing for certain parts of it. A lot of the humor, though, is still pretty good. It's just some of it doesn't. I think that's one of the problems. Now, is this movie for everyone? Probably not. But if you hate the Grinch because of how it doesn't really gel well with the Dr. Seuss story, I can see where you're coming from. It's definitely not, though in some ways I don't think they were trying to be. I've heard interviews with Ron Howard that there's we don't want to try to tell the same story, we wanted to do something different with it. But I'm just paraphrasing, don't take my word for it, but anyway, both Grinch movies. The original one is great, I recommend it. And if you're interested in the live action movie, I would say check that one out as well. It is a very interesting movie to watch.